I mean, today, the bombshell of David Shaw just like it confirms Tanner's exit, which we discussed this week, how it's more than likely he's going to take that Jets job, and the hire of David Shaw officially confirms that. Detroit Lions are hiring David Shaw as their new passing game coordinator, per Tom Pelissero. Last season, actually, Shaw, because he was with Stanford for a while, actually set like records as a coach there, did some special things, and then departed after like 2, 3, and 9 seasons. And then last year, he was the senior personnel executive for the Denver Broncos. And obviously, John Morton was with the Broncos as well. There's a connection there already. And guys, like when I first saw the notification, I've seen David Shaw kind of float around. I mean, there is talks of the Bears interviewing David Shaw as well to be their offensive coordinator. And Ben pivoted and went with a younger guy. But I think this hire is a home run. And we texted in our group chat, like, I love this hire. As much as I love Tanner, and it's sad to see him go, this is like the perfect replacement for a lot of reasons. And it tells me with John Morton and David Shaw, they have a much more experienced offensive staff. That's what this is telling me right now. I mean, you have John Morton, who's been coaching in the league for a while, been around a lot of offensive minds, and David Shaw, who's been in college for a while, but actually has been an NFL coach before. He's with the Ravens. I think the last time he was in the NFL was like 2005 is with the Ravens. So he's been coaching for a long time. He's always been a bright dude offensively. Like, I mean, he's worked under Harbaugh in different spots. Harbaugh's always took David Shaw with him.
Gruden.
And John Gruden, like he's worked under great offensive minds as well. And he was the offensive coordinator, obviously under Jim Harbaugh with Andrew Luck with Stanford, and then took over as head coach at Stanford. So again, guys that just understand offense, and someone that like a David Shaw has worked with Andrew Luck, had a good relationship with him. Everywhere he's gone, they've had explosive passing attacks, explosive offenses, understands concepts. And again, like as much as we like Tanner's potential, you're getting someone who's been there, who's done that, who's, I mean, in terms of designing passing concepts, been doing it for years, and also has ties to the city. His dad coached the DBs here in Detroit in the 80s. So he actually went to school here, high school here. And now he returns to be the Detroit Lions passing game coordinator. So, hey, the Bears didn't hire him. The Lions get him. It's a hell of a chess move. I love this hire. And to be honest, guys, I think this, and I don't want to talk like this because we don't want to plan for any type of failure.
Oh, I know what you're going to say because I know exactly what you're going to say.
But it's like, if anything were to happen with John Morton,
yeah.
You got David Shaw waiting, who's called a ton of plays before. So I love the hire, fellas. I do. Love it.
Klotz, I'll let you go because I have a video to go when I go here. I want to play a video.
When I saw David Shaw was hired, like, and again, I know we've been talking about it, but I was like, okay, I'm breathing a lot of fresh air right now because David Shaw obviously hasn't been proven that much on the NFL level. But if you look at what he did in college and the players that he developed, the amount of players he sent to the NFL during his time at Stanford, I love what he's going to be able to do with this offense in the passing game. Specifically, I think obviously you can go with Jared Goff and the wide receivers, but I'm really excited to watch is bring up Andrew Luck, who he coached in college, but who else did he coach in college? Christian McCaffrey. And you really watch Christian McCaffrey turn into an absolute weapon at the running back spot, both running the ball, but what he did in the passing game as well. So what he's going to be able to do with Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff to balance his offense, not only through the passing game, but what he does in the passing game, the screen games. I think we're going to see more Jahmyr lined up in the slot, hopefully. But I do think he gives you that dynamic where you can trust him because you look at just what he's done. He has that resume. My whole thing with John Morton was, okay, he hasn't been able anywhere really consistently, and he hasn't developed anything consistently. With David Shaw, now it kind of gives you that security blanket like you boys was just talking about, where it's, okay, I've seen David Shaw coach collegiately, both as an offensive coordinator, a head coach, a passing game coordinator, a run game coordinator. So he's seen it at a high level, and he's been able to do it with NFL type of talent, obviously in the Pac-12. But again, he's produced a lot of NFL players through his time coaching. So development-wise, I trust David Shaw completely being the passing game coordinator. And to your point, guys, if John Morton doesn't work out, I think you do have a security blanket like we just brought up.
Yeah, I mean, hey, boys, Klotz, you guys hit it spot on. This is one of those things with Dan where we mentioned a lot with Dan. Hey, how is he going to do hiring a new staff? I think I brought it up to Jeff. I can't remember who I talked to about this, but especially with like this the positional group staff. We had the conversation where it was like, hey, after Dan's first hires, every time he's had to fire a guy or move on from a guy, he has had a home run hire after that. And that's what it feels like with like a David Shaw. Like the OC, DC, that's still up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen with the John Morton, Kelvin Shepard. Like we hope it works out. We don't know. But like the defensive line hire, now the pass game coordinator, like boys, and I haven't seen this on Twitter yet, and I don't think people realized it. David Shaw earlier this month interviewed for the Chicago Bears head coaching position. The head coaching job, like over with Ben Johnson. Like it wasn't like he was just like he interviewed for the head coaching position. And then after he didn't get that job and Ben got it, Ben interviewed him for the OC position. He got brought back for the second interview to be the OC. So this is a guy that's like wanted in locker rooms around the NFL. People love him. Like this isn't just like a normal guy. You didn't get him as your OC. You could make an argument, boys, that he should be your OC and John Morton should be like you can make that argument. Like it's not crazy to be like, hey, David Shaw should be your OC. Like he has interviewed for OC job. He interviewed for a head coaching job in this month. And you just hired him as your pass game coordinator, not just for the year, but on a multi-year deal. So like Dan Campbell went out there, massive win. And then as I'm looking at, like I'm driving home today to do the show. I come across this video, boys. And this, like, if people aren't sold on the David Shaw hire yet, or don't think this guy's going to make an impact in this locker room, I came across this video. Rich Eisen, boys.
Go.
As soon as in this video, let me put it in context. This was 3 weeks ago. This wasn't like, hey, it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Shaw was at Stanford. No, this was 3 weeks ago when he was interviewing for the Chicago Bears job. Jeff, if you want to play this video.
You can get an offensive guy who's also a CEO, who I think would be a terrific fit. Who's the guy that I have been saying from this chair over and over and over again, that if I was running an NFL franchise, I would hand the guy a check and say, put the amount in it. And you are my guy.
You've said it for years.
Yeah, years.
And did you see who because I believe he's with the Broncos organization right now in a capacity.
Senior personnel exec.
Yep.
David Shaw.
Yeah, you love David Shaw.
I love David Shaw.
I'm talking like 5 years now. You've been even longer than that. You've been saying
love David Shaw. Big time. The guy has got NFL experience with multiple staffs, Ravens being the one that just leaps out at you off the screen. A builder of programs, a terrific face to put out into the community, handling the media, a steady hand, somebody who doesn't just go nuts, but has an intensity about him. God, I think he would be great for the Chicago Bears.
Boys, listen, you might not like David Shaw. Rich Eisen is one of the best football minds in the world. He's been around the game a long time. That man literally sat up on his desk 3 weeks ago, said, I'll hand David Shaw a blank check to be the head coach for my franchise if I was running a franchise. He said he would give him a blank check to be his head coach. Dan Campbell just got him as his pass game coordinator. This might be one of the best hires of the whole coaching cycle, to be honest. I'm just going to be quite frank, boys. I think this is like, if you look at the staff, like I'm pumped up. And you know, one thing too, I think Dan's doing, I will finish the David Shaw thing because I have a theory on Dan Campbell. Whenever you guys want to move on from this, I have a theory.
Yeah, it's really good insurance, man. Like it's good insurance. Obviously, I'm sure Dan has full faith in John Morton, but you want guys in that room that are just experienced.
Yep. That
you can rely on. Like I'm sure, I mean, especially David Shaw, the experience he's had working with Andrew Luck, who, prematurely retired, but was on pace to be an all-time great. It's going to be great for a guy like Goff. Like you're surrounding him with guys that just are experienced offensive minds. And I think my hope with this offensive staff is they're going from more of a youthful, young offensive staff to more of a mature, experienced staff. Like, and I know we talk about it like younger guys, bright offensive minds. Like I understand that, but the benefit of having older guys, experienced, I'll use that word, this case I offend some people, but experienced coaches is situationally. I think that's where the Lions are going to benefit the most from having a David Shaw, a John Morton, like guys that have seen a lot more football and been a part of things, even though maybe the resume, we talk about the historic offenses now the last couple of years. Like I understand that. I think, listen, losing Ben is going to be tough, but I think what helps is having guys that have seen a lot. And David Shaw has seen a lot, like coaching players, like you mentioned, Christian McCaffrey, Andrew Luck, John Morton, being around all the offenses he's been around. Like that's where I think the benefit comes into play, is like the experience. And then Dan Campbell weighing in on this offense. So my hope is situationally with this new offensive staff, that's where they'll improve because of experience.
I think we'll see a lot more of a pro style offense too, because when you look at it too, like who else did David Shaw? I had Zach Ertz, and who we have in Detroit, Sam Laporta. And when you look at it, he did they threw the ball. Like when you have Andrew Luck, you're going to throw the ball, but they relied heavily on running the ball. He had 2 Heisman candidates at the running back position. So something that I'm it's very can't see it, but what I'm interested in what they try to do with the philosophy of this team is maybe if they stop trying to be, or they're going to stop trying to be a big shot, explosive offensive driven team, and pro style offense. Let's win this game defensively. Let's try to switch the identity. We've been really good with the offensive leading this team, but if we can switch to a pro style offense where there's very little mistakes, very little room for error, and we're just a heavy, solid defensive team, it almost kind of seems like that's where the identity of this team's rolling. Because when you look at what happened when the Chiefs started losing coaches, they started losing Tyreek Hill. They were still the Chiefs, but they switched to a defensive team. Look at the Chiefs now. They're a defensive team. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they were good as an offensive team, but when they're a defensive team, that's when they win championships. So I'm interested to see if they kind of switch their philosophy a little bit. Obviously, still be a good offense, but make the defense the identity of this team.
Yeah, and I don't think too. I agree, disagree with you, Klotz. Like I still think you don't want to just take away the offense that you have. Like you have explosive players with Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. You don't want to take them out of the game. And it's like you'd be like, well, you want to take a little less away from offense. Like, no, like you've seen what this offense can do. And why, build defensively, and then why not still have the same offense you've had the last 3 years, top 5 level? Like that's what you want to keep. You don't want to just take a back seat just so defensively you can. But I truly do believe that Dan's looking at this a little differently offensively, and I don't think it's more so just before it might have just been Ben Johnson. It might have just been hey Ben, run your thing. I think now it's hey, this is going to be a group effort. I think Dan did have a little bit of a say in at the beginning years of Ben Johnson, and I think Dan's getting back to that, and he's going to be there with John Morton and David Shaw and Scotty Montgomery and Hank Fraley, who's the run game coordinator. Like, think about that, boys. Like that's the staff running your offense. As much as we loved Ben Johnson, that staff right there is not bad at all. Like they're going to still be a top 5 offense. Like the signing today, and then knowing Hank's coming back, and knowing you still have Scotty, and knowing John Morton's worked with Dan and worked with those guys before, and that whole staff, I'm very confident this is a top 5 offense still because of the weapons. Like I keep hearing all week when it comes to coaches all around the NFL and in the interviews and stuff, people just keep bringing up the one. It's like the one common denominator. It's doesn't matter the coaches you have to have the personnel. You have to have the players. That's all that matters in the league. And yes, when you get into the games, yes, there are schemes, there are plays. At the end of the day, I heard Bill Belichick say it less than 24 hours ago. He could do whatever he wants to help you win. You need the players. The Lions have the players. They have one of the best offenses on paper in the NFL. Now they have the guys to help them out. And my kind of theory with this too, boys, and maybe this is just a wild thought, and Jeff, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. I think Dan's kind of, and I know he hired Kelvin Shepard, a rookie DC, but even Casey Rogers coming in, you have some experienced guys. I think losing the last 2 years, I'm not saying hit a toll on Dan, but I think Dan's looking at it and saying we need to if Ben and AG are moving on, 2 first-time coordinators over the last few years, if they're moving on, I need to get guys in here who know how to win, who have been in the league and can help us win a Super Bowl. We have to take that next step. And seeing the way he's built this offensive staff, whether it's keeping guys or getting rid of or bringing new guys in, it feels like he is very serious about wanting to win a Super Bowl. He is locked in, bringing in Casey Rogers, who was won in Tampa Bay, won a Super Bowl, know what it takes to do it. I think Dan has that mindset this offseason. We have to put one of the best staffs together in the NFL. And that's why I think, Jeff, that's why I think maybe he didn't go Tanner. is I think he knows like at some point we need to have some experience in these rooms to be able to lead the guys to win a Lombardi trophy. And if we just keep, and this is, I was thinking this on my drive home, like if they just keep getting rookie guys, and then they keep losing in the playoffs because it's inexperience, tough play calling, this, that, then you're sitting there and you're like, man, we could have just brought some vets in, some guys who have been to the Super Bowl, some guys who have been able to win games, and we learn. So you have to, like, I think that's part of the reason that he's built the staff he's building right now. And I'm starting to really, honestly, boys, I'm starting to really love the staff. I really am. I know it's like the question mark with John Morton's probably the big one, but I even think with the pieces, again, that you've put around John Morton, I don't see a world he's not successful at the end of the day. You have the players and you have the coaches around you. There's no reason to be. There's no excuse. Zero excuse.
I mean, David Shaw's coached. I mean, talking about the in the NFL, he's coached in every game in some capacity, but the Super Bowl, he's coached in AFC Championship games. He's coached in playoff games. Like he's coached in. I mean, he has a ton of experience. Like to that point, I think that's what it is. Like, I don't think Dan wanted 2 rookie coordinators, which makes sense. Like, why in a year like this? I understand that. Now, I thought it'd be on offense than defense, but the point still stands. You don't want to have 2 rookie coordinators going into a year where you have to win now. So at some point, you got to get some experience. And now they have guys that, again, have coached on big stages. Now, like John Morton's more just for experience, but like David Shaw has he has the resume. And he has, like you said, Klotz, like proofs in the pudding, who he's developed, who he's worked with. Like they both obviously have worked under Jim Harbaugh. And David Shaw has actually called plays with Jim Harbaugh, called plays with Jim Harbaugh.
I wonder, like, what the mindset was there, like making Morton the OC instead of David Shaw. Like maybe it was timing. But when I just look at that, like when you look at the resumes, you'd think that, I mean, David Shaw, without a doubt, is more qualified. But I don't know if they were like, here's your break, Johnny. Here's your break.
To be honest with you, my theory on it, to be honest, would be simply the familiarity with the offense. I think that's where, like, David Shaw did not have any. David Shaw's going into this, like, obviously the guy understands offense. Like, he's going to get this thing pretty quickly. But I think John Morton has that advantage because he helped kind of construct the offense. He didn't call plays, but he helped construct it. So there's that familiarity there. So I think that's where he would get the advantage. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.